A pleasant good morning to everyone. Welcome once again to another edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. I've been doing radio for a while. We won't say 30 years. We won't say 25, but somewhere between 15 and 25, if you get my drift. It is going to be an interesting show today. It's going to be a show where I'm going to depend on you for your input. I'm going to get perspectives from several guests. Dr. Prince, I'm very interested in seeing how the flow in the conversation goes on this show, because it's a lot to discuss. I mean, big topic. This is, if you're in any kind of media, radio in particular, these are the type of shows you're excited about. I mean, you're excited about all of them, but just so many topics. It has been a wild week, an interesting week, whatever way you want to describe it. It has been interesting. So, the guest menu looks like this on today's show. Our usual guest, Coach Van Pettaway. He'll join me at about 10:35, giving his perspective on the Southwestern Athletic Conference basketball race, basketball both on the women and men's side. Charles Edmond in hour number 2 at about 11:03. He'll discuss Southwestern Athletic Conference basketball, football, baseball. There's some news that I'm going to talk about very shortly under my topics that I think you will be interested in. And then finally, Brandon B.J. Jones will join me. He'll look at some recruiting that just passed a signing day for most colleges in all sports. And basically, they'll continue to add some student athletes here and there afterwards. So, Coach Van Pettaway, Charles Edmond, Brandon B.J. Jones, and we'll hear from Dr. Michael Prince as well. And hopefully to hear from you. You can interact with me. You can go to the Carlos Brown Show Facebook page, Messenger, leave a question or comment. I'll do my best to interact with you via that way. Topics on today's show. I usually say what's trending, but let's just go straight into it. The big news of this week, North Carolina A&T University. They're leaving the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference for the Big South. We're going to discuss that. Give our opinions and hear from you. Also, Southern University, some interesting news. Coach Chennis Berry, I want to congratulate him. According to very good sources, he'll be the new head football coach at Benedict College in Columbia, South Carolina. Congratulations. Coach Odoms has some hiring to do, and it's got to be the right fit. Southern University football signees. We'll discuss that. You have the early signing period, and then you have the traditional signing period on February the 5th. We'll give you information on that. Also, some additional signees from the besides the official list, and also a transfer student in for Southern University for football. Southern basketball, women and men continue to roll. I was just smiling like a chess cat at the F.G. Clark Activity Center last Saturday, because I love my Alcorn State fans, all of them, who listen to the show. Good morning to you. And I said, hashtag, this is not football. I want a victory, 2 victories, and I got them. Like I'm the coach. But we'll talk about that. Southern University take care of Alcorn State. And now, you know what I'm thinking. You know what I'm thinking. Dr. Prince, you know what I'm thinking. as I'm smiling right now from ear to ear. Now, just let it be football. Could this be an omen? Could this be a sign? Oh, and speaking of that, I think it's set up to be continued interesting games between those two teams. Whew. Both teams have recruited well, but actually, Alabama A&M, Grambling State, everybody gets their needs done in recruiting. It'll be football season before you know it. Also, preseason baseball honors are in. Predictions, another matchup in the East, Alabama State, Southern University in the West. But we had Coach Jackson on last week, and he talked about, hey, we're going to be a very young team. Very young team. It's going to take us a little time, but we still expect to challenge for the title in baseball. So that'll be interesting. Preseason baseball honors are in. Also, oh my goodness, I think it was sometime Saturday, with the social media input now, I'm getting all these text messages and pictures. Wow, TSU women in Alabama State, a boxing match after the brawl after the basketball game. And the conference was swift in their judgment on both teams. I want to hear what Dr. Prince has to say about it. I'm interested to see what he has to say about that brawl. My goodness. And if you have access to social media, you saw the pictures and just shameful. That's the only word I can use, just shameful. Look, I don't know who started it, who's at fault, as far as penalties concerned, but it was not a good look. Not a good look at all. We'll get everybody's opinion on that. And then finally, yesterday got a text message, and we'll look for a release coming very soon. SWAC baseball tournament, May 13th through the 17th in Jackson, Mississippi, Will Smith Stadium. That's worth the price of admission just to go to Jackson and taunt the JSU fans. But I'll be good. But that is what a good source is saying, and the release is coming soon. So that is the topics that I'm going to attempt to discuss. Dr. Prince, a long list of topics.
It is a long list of topics, but I think you can handle them all, my man, because you're just that kind of guy. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. I don't know. Did you just put the whammy on?
No, man. Look, big bucks, no whammies, right? You got that. You got that. You got that. You remember that show?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Big bucks, no whammies, baby. We talking about the one and only, the Carlos Brown, the master of the mic, the magician with words.
Well, I could say I'm just a nobody.
Trying to tell
everybody about somebody. I could go that direction, but I'm just a humble servant.
Yes, sir. Well,
at least I attempt to be.
I look at it like this. You let others speak of your goodness. You just stay maintained on the issue at hand, and that's going out and deliver. You keep delivering. You let other people speak on your greatness. If you spend time talking about how great you are, guess what? You're not that great.
I would agree with that. I would definitely agree with that. North Carolina A&T leads the MEAC for the Big South. That has been the buzz for the last couple of days, and just sitting back, listening to the perspectives given out by different people, fans, alums, what have you. It goes all across the board.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I just want to break it down in simple terms. Some of the things that you hear and you read on social media, talking to different people. I sent a couple of text messages out to, a couple of people and kind of want to get their thoughts on it. Apparently, the majority of the comments that I heard, if I can paraphrase on it, is North Carolina A&T. How could you leave the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference? They, meaning the Big South, they need you more than you need them. Then you have the people that talk about from a cultural standpoint and sports. They don't like the move. I read some articles this morning. Some of the players at North Carolina A&T, the athletes, they're not happy about it. Some of the alums are definitely not happy about it. But North Carolina A&T officials, they decided to make the move. They feel that it's better for them to make this move. And I read this official statement, saw the video of the press conference, then the MEAC, and I've got it all pulled up. The Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference released a statement to the fact that they're still a viable conference, and they're going to do I'm paraphrasing, they're going to do everything that they can to keep the conference viable, and it's here to stay. Although you hear some, we'll talk to Brandon B.J. Jones about this situation. Some feel that from the conference level, they have fallen short of some things that they should have been doing in North Carolina, and that's one of the reasons why they're leaving. But Dr. Prince, it's just conversation all across the board, and it goes from A to Z. And people have been arguing, and some people have, fallen out in their discussions. It could be, as some say, ramifications, a domino effect, as far as black college sports. North Carolina A&T, the cream of la cream in black colleges. So that's just a fraction, a little bit of some of the comments that you've heard in the last 48 hours.
It's been a roller coaster of emotions, and I'm going to say this: you got to be careful of who you pick to lead you, because ultimately people revert back to what they feel comfortable with when it comes to styles of leadership. They could have innovative thoughts, ideas, visions, this, that, and the other. But when the rubber meets the road and it's time for crunch time and production, we have a tendency to fall back to what we know has worked in the past. And when you look at who's leading the charge athletically, as far as the athletic director in North Carolina, check their background out. This kind of makes sense on why they're going in the direction that they're going in. And then when you look at it from another angle, here's where it gets convoluted as far as I'm concerned. HBCUs are always saying we need to get people who are alumni. We need to get people who understand the culture. And I agree with that 1,000%. But you got to also have people who are diverse enough that can go in and don't get caught in the run of the mill. Because reverting back to what I just stated earlier, people have a tendency to do what they know has worked before. And as a result, you just begin to chase your tail. With North Carolina A&T leaving, I often talk, and I don't want to cross over or anything. I teach my church, don't forget to remember where you come from. And when you forget to remember where you come from, you get caught up and you get in this vortex of the lost identity game. When the MEAC was embracing North Carolina T, when they didn't know up from down, in from out, they nurtured them back to health. They stuck with them. And then you get a couple of nickels above poverty and you forget from which you come. And then on the backside, as conferences, as institutions, we've got to do more to retain and maintain our membership and expand that membership. And you just can't rest on the laurels of, it's HBCU, they're going to do it just because, or you ought to do it just because. You still have to court that membership, you have to court that alumni, and you have to court the hunger for growth. And in both parties, in my opinion, are coming out. From the research that I've gathered, they didn't consult alumni. They went on and did what they felt like they had to do, because the natural order of things of how it's gone in HBCU land is, oh, they'll come along. Because we don't say nothing until after the fact. We have a knee-jerk reaction. And that's why you got to be the gatekeeper. Somebody has to be the gatekeeper to help curve this stuff. Now, if you're going to be that gatekeeper, guess what you're going to be identified as? The hater. You're going to be Mr. Negative. I ain't got nothing good to say. But this didn't just happen, ladies and gentlemen. This has been in the makes for a long time. We just now hearing about it.
2021 is the official year that they'll be in the Big South. That includes football and all other sports except bowling. They'll still be a member of the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference. They'll join Hampton in the Big South. Some of the other situations, information or thoughts you hear about, they talk about the travel, cutting the travel expenses. Although in football, they'll still have to go to Kennesaw State in Georgia.
Man, that's the latest buzzword and code for we're cowards talking about travel. I don't want to hear about no travel.
And they still have to go to Monmouth. Mm-hmm. That's in New Jersey. Mm-hmm. God bless them. They feel that they had to do what they had to do, and they're going to be gone.
Yeah, they're going to be. Well, if I'm the MEAC, if I'm Dr. Dennis Earl Thomas, y'all might well take your bowling program too. If you don't want to be here, we don't want nothing of you around here. That's just me. Mm-hmm. You don't. Yeah. If we're not good enough for the other sports, go and have a community bowling team. As far as I'm concerned, but you're not welcome in this conference. And
you know what? And I talked to some friends, and basically what you just talked about, mm-hmm. as far as relationships going further, they said they would not play them in any sport.
I wouldn't play them in tiddlywinks.
Yeah, and here's the thing: you look at Hampton, they're going to they're still gonna play some CIAA members in football. I would not play them. Would not. If the relationship, that's the way it is. It's better going to the Big South for you.
No. Hey, I mean, God bless you. God bless the child that's got his own. I'm not mad at you. I have to regroup now. But so what and that's why I'm saying what the MEAC and the SWAC ought to be looking at right now is retention for its current members. You can't, they've made their decision. That's old news. You turn the page, you move on down the road. Yeah, it's a hot topic right now, but they've made up their decision. They made their mind up. They made the points on why they feel like you're going to tell me it's about traveling. Okay, talk to me in 3 years when your travel budget is still the same. So that's what people, and it comes to us, man. We talk about our heritage and our pride for our HBCU connections. And when we need to be vocal, we're vocal after the decision has been made. Not,
in other words, be proactive, not reactive.
And not reactive. This is a knee-jerk reaction. But I guarantee you, if you were on point, if you were keeping it amongst the masses, in particular to North Carolina A&T alumni, something, if not, it could at least delay it until we sat at the table. You can't make a decision like that without getting in contact with your alumni and not even surveying your current players. Man, that comes from people who don't understand what we have or don't appreciate what we have, or either they're trying to sabotage what we have. Pick your poison, but it is what it is.
And I posted on the Carlos Brown Show Facebook page, losing North Carolina A&T not only hurts the MEAC, it's huge for the culture, by Donovan Dooley. And I think you should read the article and see what you think about it. But in the picture, you have members of the football team staff listening during the news conference. Alumni are upset. Football players, they're just upset. And to your point, they probably been having this plan of what they were going to do for a while, but nobody else knew.
That's what I'm saying, Carlo. You don't just do that. You don't wake up. You don't go to bed Friday, wake up Saturday, talking about we're going to change conferences. It doesn't work like that. That is a process. You gotta first put up whatever the financial obligations are. You have to do the data research, and just like they said, they did a 3-month study. Who knew about this 3-month study that was going on until after the fact? On what contingency does this make sense for me to go over here? I hear you talking about travel. I hear you talking about that. What really is this about? This is about people who are in leadership position who don't appreciate what North Carolina A&T truly stands for. Bottom line. If you want to go, don't use other excuses. Just say, look, I want to go. I'm leaving. We can do better elsewhere. Okay, see you. Bye. And that's it. You know, I've been harping on the ESPN factor, right? Here's what they just stepped out of. With the MEAC, they were only responsible for football and some basketball games. Now, they're going to have to be responsible for the ESPN Plus package with the relationship they have with the Big South. They're going to have to produce all other sports, which is going to do what? Increase their budget. So explain to me the logic behind that financially.
There's no logic.
There is no logic. Man, I almost said something I shouldn't have said on public radio.
Well, yeah. You want to be careful, but you can see in the article they have a quote from Tariq Cohen, who just doesn't like the move at all. It's going to be an interesting situation. It'll blow over in a little while. We'll forget about it.
See, that's our problem. It'll blow over because we're such docile people. We talk good behind the scenes. We talk strong amongst each other. But when it comes time to be vocal, we become cowards. And we'll let the little financial perks persuade us to say, well, maybe it's not that bad. And it starts there. Who's going to be the next institution to get sucked into that vortex?
And it's interesting because you have some that think it's going to be a domino effect. There's other conference members there that may be looking to get out. There's also...
wouldn't you? Watch this. I'm about to be facetious. Alcorn Nation, I love you. The only one who was happy they left was Alcorn.
Right now, you taking a shot there. you taking a shot there.
Man, it's all in. No, I'm trying to lighten the situation, though.
Yeah, but if you're a competitor, you still want a piece of them. But,
I know. But you like, oh Lord, who now? You do you understand the impact this has? I know FAMU was saying they were the undisputed champion, the people's champ, but until proven otherwise, that was your big fish in the pond.
And then there's conversations about how will it affect the Southwestern Athletic Conference.
Man, look
there are those who say it's all on the MEAC why this happened.
It is.
Like I say, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot of different perspectives are going on. Like I said earlier, from A to Z. And
you know what I would do?
Which is which?
You know what I would do? Because this is a business, right? When the rubber meets the road, it's about business. If I am the commissioner of the Southwestern Athletic Conference, even though I'm not, I'm going to strike up a conversation with FAMU and kick the tire on Tennessee State just for strengthening. Hey, man, FAMU is already outside the quote-unquote travel rim. If y'all want to reduce your traveling, look at us logistically from travel. If that's the game we're going to play. And why don't y'all come over here and be a part of this SWAC family?
I've heard that. I've heard people discussing that because there's other institutions in the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference that are struggling.
Right.
You also hear about, hey, the MEAC won at Alabama A&M and Alabama State.
Right.
You remember that a couple of years ago?
Yep.
And I talked to an assistant coach in this conference. Basically had said that what we've discussed over a period of time, he really believes the Power Five is going to pull away from the NCAA and form their own association.
Well,
and that's going to have a roll down the hill effect.
Well, why not start a super conference HBCU?
Dr. Prince, that has been discussed. I know of, and you know of this person if I mention his name. He was commissioned to do a study, but this was about, I want to say 7 or 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And his job was basically to get the information and then present it to the powers that be. Mm-hmm. And that super conference would actually have been some teams out of the Southwestern Athletic Conference, out of the MEAC, and your Division I in all sports anyway, except what? Football, right?
Right.
And so, gathered information. Your biggest hurdle would be, besides having a plan, is funding what? From 63 scholarships to 85?
Mm-hmm.
And you would have to expand, athletic, academic center and what have you. But anyway, to make a long story short, they were not ready at that time to make the transition. So, but to your point, that has been discussed before in the past, and you hear that conversation coming back up again. So what will be the ramifications of all of this? Just from North Carolina A&T leaving the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference to the Big South.
Now, when the dust settles, Brother Brown, and we could make a guesstimation of who will and who won't come, both conferences, the MEAC and the SWAC, have to do a self-analysis and tighten up what they can tighten up to sweeten the pot. And I'm not just talking about financially, but I'm talking about emotionally, experience-wise, to make these schools want to stay part of the conference. One thing, tradition is one thing, and it's a great thing, but we're going to have to have something else that's going to want to keep us in these conferences. And that's where it comes to being outside the box thinking. We cannot operate in 1920 when the conference was established in 2020. We have to become innovative. We have to become outside the box thinkers, and we have to do stuff that's going to curve that. We're talking about people are complaining about the SWAC moving to playing all teams in baseball, right? Well, it's going to affect travel. No, man, everybody make these excuses, but that you can make happen what you want to happen. And so we got to start being accountable for our very own things that are causing our self-destruction. And
that reflects leadership as well.
Leadership, not just at, and I don't want anybody to think that Prince is attacking but not just at the conference level, but at the institutional levels, presidential and athletic.
That's kind of what I mean. I should have been more specific on institutional perspective, because if you have, we know the mission is academics first. We know that.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, so we know that. But with that being said, it is an advantage to have administrators that are on board with the concept that they go hand in hand.
Right.
Academics and athletics. You run into a big problem if you got on the academic side that don't give a what about athletics, and they're not there to help. You run into big trouble. It's just more. It's better when you have administrators or people at the top that recognize that they can go hand in hand and work together.
No doubt.
Gotta have that vision. So, with that being said, you've had people trying to compare the the commissioner from the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, who played collegiately in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. And then, of course, you have Dr. McClellan at the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Isn't it interesting? And then we tend to think about football first and forget that it's all sports, right?
Right.
You remember a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about how the MEAC is just so much better? I mean, that came up, right?
Yeah.
Everybody knows that. And then just like with a snap of a finger, now it's can they survive? And I pulled up, and I'm not going to try to go through all of this, but of course, I'm looking right now at the response of the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference Council of Chief Executive Officers, chaired by Dr. Wayne A.I. Frederick, president of Howard University. He just wants to confirm that the current makeup of the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference member institutions are united to remain a viable and sustainable football championship subdivision conference and are committed to academic and athletic excellence for our students and student athletes. And then it goes on to say some of the famous people, both from non-sports that have come through the conference and athletics.
Now, how do you translate that? Here's how I translate it. Yeah, we got to get our act together. We got to get our house in order because this is out of control. That's how I'm interpreting that. All them nice, fluffy, politically correct words, I understand that. That's part of the game that we play. But I'm old, as they say, old school talk show host. I don't have to be politically correct. It is what it is. It's messed up on both sides. And the only thing you can do at this point is maintain what you have to prevent this from happening again.
And, well, according to some, it's just the beginning.
No doubt.
The MEAC, it says the MEAC will continue to explore conference expansion in the future as we have done in the past. Led by Dr. David Wilson, president of Morgan State University, who is the chair of the new membership committee. We will work with North Carolina A&T State regarding its transition from the MEAC and wish them well on their new journey. Yep. Wish you well. See you.
Change the locks. Hope you got everything you got when you left.
Yeah. And if you believe it's better on the other side, go right after. And some of the comments that even on the story that I posted on the Carlos Brown Show Facebook page, a few people say it's a lateral move. Some say it's a lateral. Then some say it's a minus move. It's a backwards move. Well, this is going to be interesting to see the follow up with the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference. And will it have ramifications throughout black college sports?
It will have ramifications either now or later. There are going to be ramifications from this. And I think, as you just mentioned, it is a strategic attack on the HBCU impact as we've known it. It seems so subtle right now. Oh, it's only one school, da-da-da. Now, I know that Savannah State left last year and they dropped down. Here's the question that I ask, and putting pride aside, knowing the financial challenges that all said institutions have, some have more than others, should both conferences drop down to D2 as a whole due to the responsibilities that are due their direction? And then create a super conference on the D2 level with all other said conferences.
Well, not to be repetitive, but once again, this has been this.
No, I know that. I'm talking about, but we're talking about the D1 factor, but the D2 factor. You still got some highly competitive games from the D2 level. In fact, some of the D2 teams are probably better than some of the D1 programs that we have in our conferences. But what I'm saying is just make it one super conglomerate, get you a couple of, we in love with ESPN. I'm pretty sure they'll find some attraction to that with the niche of having HBCU programming. Find you a couple of top-tier sponsors, and everybody go back to their respective corners.
Division II.
Why not?
I
we operate like it.
I saw a study done that said everybody should go down.
Right.
Everybody, from Southern to Prairie View on down.
Absolutely, because our mentality is that, our approach is that, and let the truth be told, our results on the playing field equal that.
I talked to a former AD in the conference. He's long gone now. He brought that up to his school. And the people of influence said, "Are you crazy? Negro, do you want to still work here? You keep talking that way." And he's no longer there. Of course, he met a fate. And and I tell you what, it was a former AD at a school in the conference. Can I give a big clue?
Sure.
They talk about who wants that smoke. And I won't mention his name, but he's gone. He didn't last long. And it'll be interesting to see where does the next 10 or 15 years, where would it bring the Southwestern Athletic Conference and the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference?
Would it
we
be?
should see the collegiate, the landscape has changed and is changing. It's still changing.
Right. And would it really be that bad to drop to D2?
I mean, if you're asking me, I can't answer that right now. I have to look at seeing a study done. Again, the information. You've got administrators who's going to fight.
A study.
That's what I said. A study, consultant to look. I mean, you could say you want to drop down to Division II, but you're still going to have to analyze it.
Well, you know what? You know the best study you could do, look at your budget of operation, what you got coming in, what you got going out, the requirements to be D1, the requirements to be D2. That's your study right there, brother. It don't have to be that complicated. We tell ourselves something, we walk and operate in hope, but the reality is we're struggling. That's just like trying to buy a house. I go buy a house because you bought a house. I don't know what it really take in your household to maintain, but I know what it take in mine, and to keep up with you, I'm going without a whole bunch of stuff so I can say, yeah, I'm in the same neighborhood as Carlos Brown. If this is my budget, then that's my reality.
Dr. Prince, you can say that, but everybody, I just don't go jump and do something. I take a look at it, and it very well may be that's what should happen. That may be the case. I'm not saying it shouldn't. I'm just saying, look, hey, let's say do it. Go. I want to do this. Go jump and do it. Don't work that way.
No. It's not that we're jumping to do it, but why would I have to pay somebody $25,000-$30,000 to go do a research on something?
You can do it yourself. You can do it yourself as a conference.
Well, still, it's going to cost you the man hours to research it and this, that, and the other. And all you got to do is look at the budgets, the profit and loss. And
I mean, a few years, 6-7 years ago, they looked. This is nothing new. They've looked at it.
That's what I'm saying. And it's just like if you keep on, we know what it is, but nobody wants to address it. You are your own worst enemy. You're your own worst enemy. You know that you can't afford to be wherever you are, but you keep on scraping and fighting, hoping that something going to change, hoping somebody going to give you a bailout. And the reality is you bail yourself out with logical choices and decisions.
That sounds like some people, I'm going to go there, like going to the playoffs. You know that's just not financially beneficial, but you still want to go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Well, that's just like saying,
But everybody has to look at what's best for them.
Okay. Well, just like North Carolina A&T found out what's best for them. So what the SWAC and the MEAC have to do, what's going to be best as a conference. Okay. Right now we're at Division I status. Look at the health wise of every institution connected, not just a couple of institutions per conference. Look at the overall health factor. And then I guess add that to the study on where should we be. Even though it was done 6-7 years ago, it was recommended that we should go D2. Then what study today is going to change that we should remain at D1? Because the financial hadn't changed since those 6-7 years ago. So I don't know why we need to go back and do another study.
So what would you think would be a timely fashion to get this done.
To get what done?
To move to Division Two.
To move to Division Two, whatever.
Yeah, well, I mean,
whatever the process.
A timetable. What? 5 months? A year?
Well, give yourself a year, 18 months to transition out, just like North Carolina A&T is doing, and you fade out of it, and you go head on. You can reestablish some even closer regional rivals that will help your gate impact, and then everybody is happy.
Now, see, I don't think you're going to make everybody happy.
Well, you're not going to make everybody happy staying at D1 nor if you drop down to D2. I understand that. But what I'm talking about, what's going to make everybody happy when they got some seats in these empty stands on football, basketball, baseball deals. And if you're restructure your conferences where you got schools that you're closer to on the D2 level. Heck, we play D2 programs and NIA programs already. They fighting about that. So you might as well join them.
Oh, thanks a lot. Somebody said FAMU is looking at several plans, and it includes joining the SWAC. They may have an announcement as early as next month.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I knew this conversation would go in this direction.
And so the people know we're not mad at each other, too, so don't have nobody thinking that we mad at each other.
No, because, I understand, and I know doing this for a long time, I know how our institutions are, and I know how the leadership is at the top. I know. You just don't come in one day and say, oh, they're going to do it this way.
No, I understand. And that's part of the problem, too. Our administrative are so top-heavy salary-wise, other stuff suffers, including athletics. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, on that note, Coach Pettaway's probably said they've forgotten about it. 10:42, and still more topics to discuss. But in this first part of the show, North Carolina A&T leaves the MEAC for the Big South. We went from there to Division II. The comments was everybody should drop down to Division II. We went from a super conference discussion, and then those who are left that don't make it, we didn't add this part, they'll drop down. There may not be any FCS in football anymore.
Well, okay.
I'm just saying, if we're going to put it all out there on the table as far as discussion, those who were left in this alleged super conference, those who were left, basically, the suggestion would have been to go down to Division II.
Well, here's the thing.
Left.
Here's the thing. If we don't care about the FCS playoff system as far as football goes, why are we paying to be a part of it? Let's take our money, take that money we spend to be affiliated with that, and go on back home.
Well, I don't like some of the laws that right here in Baton Rouge, but I have a choice. I can, don't worry about it, disobey them. I can try to live within those laws that's beneficial to me, or I can just break the laws, and then there'll be a sacrifice to pay. Or I can have the situation say I don't have to do but two things: stay black and die. I don't even have to pay taxes. That is a choice. You don't.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what'll happen.
Right.
But yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't want to go to the FCS playoffs because my position on that has not changed in 20-something years. But just like with A&T, they're gone. They want to leave the conference. Goodbye.
Right. Bottom line.
FCS playoffs, if you want to participate in it, even in this conference, you can do so. You can get an at-large bid. If that's what you want to do, have at it. But I just know certain teams I can only speak on. They're not going. They're not going to participate in it. But they're not stopping anyone else who wants to participate in it. So if you want to, have at it. Go. You got my blessing. Go and beat the hell out of them. Bring back the FCS championship. I won't get mad if you don't win. I really wouldn't.
Take your bowling team with you.
On that note, we still got Coach Ennis Berry will be the new head football coach at Benedict College. Wow. Odoms has to hire several coaches on the offensive side. And guess what? I'm already here and said, don't matter what, the second year of Atlanta or bust.
Mm-hmm.
Southern basketball on the road. Men's team, 6-game winning streak. Take that, Alcorn. And basketball, how about that? I know, got to go back to the reservation. I understand. Trust me. Baseball. SWAC baseball predictions are in. SWAC baseball tournament, May 13th to the 17th. A release is coming soon in Jackson, Will Smith Stadium. And boy, the fisticuffs, the brawl, the boxing match after the basketball game, TSU women versus Alabama State. Southern defeated Alcorn 74-57 last Saturday on the women's side. On the men's side, 93-82 over Alcorn at GSU today. Oh, my goodness. That's a rivalry game. That's going to be tough. And then Monday night, JSU women still undefeated. We'll take a look coming up shortly. Within the conference, it's Southern one game out of first place after the first half of the basketball season. I feel like I've won the Celebration Bowl. Mm-hmm. I'm that happy. Coming up next, Coach Van Pettaway joins us here on the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com.
Be the one with courage to fight child abuse.
All Texans must find the courage to fight child abuse.
Learn the signs and symptoms and report suspected abuse to appropriate authorities.
Learn and know these warning signs.
A child who undergoes changes in behavior, appetite, or routine.
Watch for unexplained injuries, a change in academic performance, or loss of interest by a child in regular activities.
Trust your instincts. If you suspect something, do something.
If you believe a child is in an abusive situation, please call the Texas Abuse Hotline at 1-800-252-5400.
Be the one with courage. To find your local Children's Advocacy Center, visit onewithcourage.org.
On behalf of children, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Broadcasters come into our lives on radio and TV, bringing us information and entertainment. Broadcasters are there for us, but who is there for them when they fall on hard times? The Broadcasters Foundation of America provides financial assistance to broadcasters in acute need due to a critical illness, accident, or other serious misfortune. If you know of a broadcaster on the air or behind the scenes who may need our help, please share our message. Visit broadcastersfoundation.org.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Going to go straight to the phone lines. First guest of today's show, he is Coach Van, on fire. Anyway, former men's basketball coach at Alabama A&M, and he's ready to go. Coach, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, guys. Good morning. It's a great morning, and it's a morning to talk about a lot of great stuff, especially history.
Yes, and I haven't gotten through but a few of it, but in the first hour, North Carolina A&T leaves the MEAC for the Big South, and during the break, you were ready to talk about even that. Share what you just said to us during the break.
Well, I think it was quite a few years ago, I made the suggestion that all of the HBCUs just form one super conference. Mm-hmm. All of us just come under one umbrella, take the money that we're spending going to these different leagues and affiliations, form our own thing, have your own national championship in every sport. Now you're playing against like programs, like teams. your budgets are about the same. See, there's a big difference when we play against the Power 5 schools when like I say, they spend more money on one program than we do on our entire athletic department. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to money and facilities, we're not matching up that way. And just because A&T moved, you watch now, it's going to be a trickle-down effect because Hampton started it.
Yeah.
A&T just following, but it'll be some other schools. So before everybody does the max exit to all these other conferences, form our own thing, and let's get it on.
Coach, would that mean? I just want to be clear. Would that mean? Because I remember talking to Floyd Kerr, and he suggested when he was, here in Baton Rouge, director of athletics at university.
Right.
And I don't want to put words in his mouth, but are you talking about leaving the NCAA and just forming your own association?
If that's what it takes, if the NC2A would not allow them to have the HBCUs under their umbrella, then you get out.
What would you
get out? Because what you need, this is what they need to look at now. They need to look at weigh the pros and cons. Mm-hmm. We're spending a lot of money. What are we getting in return? I'm serious. That's what they need to look at now. See, at first, this thing looked good for everybody to jump up and go Division I. It was all this money that you're supposed to be getting. Okay, where is it? Where is it? But see, there's so many egos involved in this now. It'll be hard for us to pull it off now because there's too many egos involved. There's too many egos. Everybody wants to be part of a Division I school. Are we really Division I? No. We're in Division I name only.
Yeah. Every sport except football.
Well, no, even in football, that's true. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. But even on the FCS level, look at our facilities and look at some of the other facilities that they have to play in or play against. Mm-hmm. And that's why when you see come playoff time, how does the MEAC and the SWAC rank when it comes to playoffs, when they have to play some of those schools? Doesn't look too well. Doesn't look too good.
They haven't done well.
Right. And now the only thing that's going to help the SWAC now, and I hate to say this, with A&T gone, now we can win the Celebration Bowl.
Well, I have faith in Alcorn.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. Okay, you got faith in them now because A&T gone.
Well, I actually predicted them to win. They let me down, but I know who they had success against. So you ain't gonna bring that up. And finally, Coach, by the way, at that time, how do you think? And you brought this up. Leadership at that time, administrators at HBCUs, what kind of feedback did you get on that?
Well, at the time, everybody was looking at that pot, that everybody was looking at that revenue share that the basketball teams were getting from the NC2A. They saw that as a golden pot at the end of the rainbow. It rained on the rainbow. It disappeared.
I guess what I'm saying, were they receptive to the idea that you talked about, at least, or maybe at Alabama A&M? What kind of feedback did you get?
Well, mixed. Some of the people that just looked at it as, okay, we got an opportunity to join the SWAC, we should take it. If you go back, I was one of the only coaches who spoke out against the move. I spoke out not because of the SWAC, because I knew that we would have to play a Division I schedule. Okay, why do we need to play a Division I schedule when we have a Division II budget, Division II facilities? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I didn't want to do it. And then at the time now, if you all remember, there was a 7-year wait for basketball to be eligible. So now you look at how long I had to try to hold that program together when I'm recruiting kids and telling them that they're not playing for anything. There's no conference championship for you guys. You can't because you got this probation thing that they put out there. So, I looked at all of that and said, no, we don't need to do it. And I was against it. Mm-hmm. And I was against it. But it didn't do any good.
I understand.
Because too many other people too many other people felt that it was the best move for Alabama A&M.
And discussions come up on the show, Dr. Prince, and we were, talking about it. And even now, the administrators at our institutions, let's say you go down to Division II. That's the best move. That's what it says to do, the research. How do you think the administrators are going to respond to that?
Well, some of them not going to even look at it.
Oh, I know.
They're not looking for that. They want to remain. They want to remain where they are. That I really think that's going to be the consensus. They're going to stay. They don't want to stay exactly where they are.
Yeah, and you know what? I agree with you. I told a story of a former AD at the institution. He kind of suggested the same thing, and they told him, if you want to keep working here, if you don't want to keep working here, keep talking that.
Yeah, keep talking that way, right?
And now he went on the living show, and I actually liked him. I used to have him on the show all the time.
But so see that's what I'm saying. I think there are too many other factors that'll be involved now for them to make that move, because it'll look like they were defeated for them to have to move down. Okay, if you don't want to move down, form your own super conference within Division I, if the NC2A will allow it. Now you playing most of your games against like opponents, and you don't have to go out there and take all them head whoopings, because your goal is to win your league and to win your own national championship.
That's a perfect situation to transition into, and I hear you, Coach Pettaway, and you've been in the wars over the years, so your words and others, they're important, and sometimes it's not a right or wrong.
Right. And this once again, this is just my opinion too.
Yeah,
right.
Opinion and perspective, and it is wise to listen to all. Listen to all. Speaking of that, I pulled up the men. Let me pull up.
You should pull up the men or the women. Who are you going first?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Shivery's not dead here. If Mama's not happy, nobody's happy.
Right.
On the women's side, if we look at the standing, let me get your opinion on this. Tight race. Jackson State on a 10-game winning streak. Texas Southern on the 6-game winning streak. Southern 7-2 on a 5-game winning streak. And Alabama A&M at 5-4 on a 1-game winning streak. Alcorn 5-4. We've talked about it before, Coach. This is going to be a tight race to the end. Who's going to take it all?
Well, right now, Jackson State's in the driver's seat. And then they're in the driver's seat to me because of this weekend. Jackson State is going to face Texas Southern. Texas Southern is losing 2 very important players in this game. They have to sit out. So that's But I thought there were multiple games. I thought the penalties were.
Oh, okay. You talking about the penalties for Texas Southern in effect?
Correct.
The next 2 games. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I think the penalties are going to hurt Texas Southern because they're losing players, and then they got to play rival games. They got to play big games without 2 of their players that they've counted on all year. So I think that could hurt them.
And Coach, let me ask you this: the conference came down with the penalties, 2 games, 1 game. Did you think it would be more, or it was about where you thought it would be?
Well, because it was after the game, I think they did it okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, had this happened during the game, I think they probably would have stepped it up a little bit more. But it was after the game. It was in the handshake line.
Yeah,
that's fair. And then I'm gonna tell you what some other conferences have done. Instead of putting everybody out in the same game, they've spread it out, these penalties. It happened in the men's last year. where two teams got to fighting, and instead of them sitting everybody out in the first game, they spread it out so that you didn't lose so many key players off of one team. So that's another route they could have gone. Instead of letting the two ladies sit out the same game, they could have just let them sit out subsequent games without them being out in the same game.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, I appreciate everyone listening, and they will give you input. Cryer, according to a colleague, only had to sit out this weekend. She will be back for JSU. And Mitchell suspended for 2 games. That's on the Texas Southern. So Prairie View's got a shot today.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Right, which could affect the conference race.
Excuse me. And it's a rivalry game.
Right.
I would think Coach Pugh will have them fired up. But you know what? Emotion, you tell me if I'm wrong, Coach. Emotion is good, but it only goes so far. It's execution.
Right, that's true.
Execution. Which one you rather have, both? Or
no, I rather have both. I want them to be intense, and then I want them out there doing it, baby, just doing it on the floor. Let's do it. And with Texas Southern going into Prairie View, yeah, Coach Pugh gonna have those ladies ready, and Texas Southern will miss those kids. See, here's the problem: if they had already played without those ladies, the team would already be adjusted. But this will be the first time they're playing without those two ladies on the floor, and it's got to affect them. It's got to affect them. Normally, you'd be going into this game, if Texas Southern was at full strength, I would say, okay, they got this one. I don't know. It throws it up in the air now.
Well, 10-game winning streak by Jackson State University. You know, sometimes we like to say, well, they need a loss to take some of that pressure off. But when a team's that good, but when you look at this race, I mean, Texas Southern right behind them. Southern 7-2. Their 2 losses to Jackson State and Texas Southern. They have that game Monday, and Southern's on a 5-game winning streak. And I didn't make a note of it, but Miss White, her, and I call her Miss White. Her dad is Lorenzo White. Used to play in the NFL.
Right.
She's a 6'1", and I'm going to be honest. Last Saturday was my first time actually getting my eyeballs on both teams.
Mm-hmm.
She has a bright future ahead. She plays in that post. She has soft hands for a lady that's 6'1" and built, you know, muscular like.
Mm-hmm.
And she's learned her spots where to get it, and they're learning how to get it to her. She was impressive. I want to say she had a double-double. It'll be interesting to see how Southern reacts Monday. They've got a tough one this afternoon against Grambling State.
Right.
But what would you do, Coach, in that situation? You lost at home to the team that's number 1 in the conference by 21, and now you go to their place. Set that up for us. If it's Coach Pettaway coaching that team that's got just beat down by 21, but now I'm going for a rematch at their place.
Well, one of the first things I would have done in practice, every time they walked on that floor, that score would be on the scoreboard. That's my manager's job, to put that up every day.
Yes.
I would want that etched in their minds as we work. Now, as we're working, I'm letting them know we're working so that won't happen again, and I'll point at the scoreboard. I will have them kids so pumped up from practicing every day with that score up there that they're going to come out and play. They're going to come out and play. That's the only thing I could think of that I would use to try to help motivate my team. Let's do to them what they did to us. Let's play. And I think that's the kind of attitude that you got to have. You don't give up just because they've already won it with the first game by 21.
Mm-hmm.
You got to find some little nuggets that'll light a fire up under your kids, and that's one of the tactics I think I would use.
The psychology of sports and coaching, right? Because, and then I'll move away from this. Go to the men's side. Southern picked to win it all. Jackson State picked in the preseason prognosticator said second. Southern sitting in third place. Is there a bit of pressure, or it's not for Southern University? I'm trying to get inside their mindset. How I wonder how they're feeling going into the second half of the conference schedule.
Well, they ought to be feeling pretty good. They got a 5-game winning streak. They put together 5 straight wins. So that's got to come into play. We're playing better now than we were early in the year. So we don't have to worry about that. We're a better team. But this score is going to remind us. It's going to keep it in the back of our mind. This is what happened when we're not ready to play.
Yeah. And their 2 losses have been to the teams that are right above them.
Right.
Jackson State and Texas Southern. One being at home, losing to Jackson State, and then Texas Southern, the first conference game that they played. Now on the men's side, Coach Pettaway, we often talked about the women's race is going to come down to the last game, perhaps. This men, it's exciting. I'm gonna brag a little bit again. We said Coach Woods. I said give him a chance, folks. Don't get down on him just yet. 6-game winning streak, and they are 1 game out of first place. Prairie View A&M 7-2, Texas Southern 7-2, Alcorn State 6-3, Southern 6-3, and I'm gonna give Charles Edmonds some credit. He said, coming out of Alabama last weekend, he could see Prairie View and Texas Southern losing.
Right. I told you that too. I told you Coach Jackson already said that he wants to get it back to where if you want to win a championship, you got to come through the state of Alabama. And he did his part. Alabama A&M didn't do theirs. He beat both top teams coming into Montgomery. He beat them both. Alabama A&M was not ready for the challenge. But this race is going down to the wire. Southern is the hottest team in the league. They are playing well. And I'm one of the people, I told you also, that people should not give up on Coach Woods because he is a master motivator. A lot of people may not like the way he does it, but he gets it done.
Well, I'm agreeing with you. They are above where I thought they would be. I came in at the beginning of the season and said my goal for them is to get a home game in the tournament. So they'd have to be at least 1 through 4. 4 is the 4th place is what you look at. Michael Bradford, LaMarcus Lee. Coach, last year, Southern played great defense to me, and they played hard. We can all say that. Mm-hmm. Now they've added some scoring. LaMarcus Lee, a local kid, Scotlandville High, went to JUCO, and Bradford, I believe, a transfer athlete. This Southern's basketball team now, I think in this winning streak, they're shooting right at close to 50%. They are just an improved basketball team, in my humble opinion.
Right. I think that experience of being together, this winning streak has really helped their confidence. And, it's going to be tough coming down the stretch. And I think we're going to see some great basketball coming down the stretch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Coach Woods, his style of play is great for this stretch run. And we got to get ready. We got to strap them on and be ready.
Well, it's going to be some great games today, of course. Texas Southern and Prairie View.
Yep.
Southern at Grambling State. I've seen teams with outstanding records go into Grambling and come away with a loss. It's a tough environment. It's a rivalry.
Right.
And then I'll say this about Alcorn State. Much improved as well. Southern defeats them 93-82 last week, but Southern's perimeter defense I thought was outstanding because Alcorn State is not a three-point opportunity they don't like. They'll throw it up from the parking lot.
Right, right.
Southern did a great job of holding that three-point shooting percentage down big time.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be an interesting weekend.
Yeah, I believe so. So, Coach, you've given your thoughts on North Carolina A&T and all of that. We've talked some swag women's basketball, some swag men's basketball. Now, what other problem needs to be solved? I guess next week or in the next 2 weeks, maybe we can talk again and look at where the conference is in the RPI ratings. We kind of know where it's going to be, but I guess that discussion will come up once again, how as the conference can improve.
Right, and I think they're headed in the right direction. A couple of weeks ago, you all said that the presidents are looking at maybe coming up with a moratorium on the games that they're playing. That's a step in the right direction, and that's how you get your RPI ratings up, because now you don't have all these losses, these road losses.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would love to see, not playing NAIA schools, and I would love if they can limit some of those guarantee games. Maybe I'll pray on it.
Okay, but if
prayer can't change things, we're doomed.
Well, yeah, but look, just pray about this. I look at it this way: the Division II and the NAIA games, they already say you can't play but four a year. That's the maximum you can play. All right, aren't those 4 games the same as me taking my team out there playing a top 10 team? Am I not that same?
You're trying to win.
Am I not that same sacrifice?
Yeah.
I'm sacrificing my kids against a top 10 team. Is my team really ready to play a top 10 team? So why not let me have a lamb? I'm tired of being the lamb. That's how I look at that. Play. If you're not going to play all 4, at least play 2, because that's what they're doing. They're playing warm-up games against us.
Yeah, and I think they're talking about limiting those type of games.
Right. Don't play as many of those games. I'm all for that. That to me that's the biggest thing that's hurting the SWAC now. We play too many money games. Cut back on the money games and try to get some home games to give these kids some confidence. Give your fans something to cheer about. Your fans are not coming out, man, when you come home and you 0-13.
And even 2-10 won't pack them in.
Right.
Goodness. Yeah. Can we talk about that for football too?
But look, they don't do as many though. They do what? 1 a year.
Yeah, well, some do too.
Yeah, and then they get broke all up, and they can't play their conference schedule. Where in basketball, you get your kids demoralized, and they can't win games they're supposed to win because they don't know how to win because you did not put them in a situation where they could win.
Well, Coach, the only thing we have left is baseball, and that's actually where some would say your best opportunity to get those kind of wins.
Right.
Get those kind of teams. Well, Coach, as usual, it's been a pleasure. We'll talk again with you next Saturday.
Week. Okay.
Yeah. And we'll have the results of this weekend, Saturday and Monday game. Going to be some good action in the Southwestern Athletic Conference.
Yep. All right, guys.
Have a great weekend.
Okay. You all too. Be safe and be blessed.
Yes, sir. I'm blessed. We all are blessed. Now we're going to take a time out. When we come back, I'm sure Charles is ready to go. Twice he's called in. Okay. And then we got BJ. We can move everybody back just a few. Oh, it's still going to be good, folks. We still have other topics to get into. So we're going to take a time out. Charles Edmond comes up next. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com.
I present to you 3 of the the fiercest subjects ever assembled in the cage of doom. First, the brain-wrenching behemoth, Algebra 2, weighing in at a mind-boggling 800 pounds. Foreign languages! The multilingual international sensation capable of tossing you clear across the Atlantic. And finally, biology. More ferocious than formaldehyde, she'll dissect you one chromosome at a time. Who among you will step up to their challenge?
Yeah, I'll do it. Me too. I'm in. Sign me up.
Take on the tough classes now. You need them to prepare for college. Find out which classes you need at knowhowtogo.org.
Brought to you by the American Council on Education, Lumina Foundation for Education, and the Ad Council.
One voice. It can get the point across, but it only carries so far. Add a voice. It's richer, louder, but that has limits too. Add a third voice. It's even more powerful. Add another, and many, many more. And we are stronger than ever. That's the power of a community coalition. They help community groups, faith groups, civic organizations, PTAs, employers, and many others in your community organize their resources and focus them where they're needed most, like fighting to keep kids away from drugs. Ask a group that you belong to if they should belong to a community coalition. It's easy to get involved. Visit helpyourcommunity.org and they'll tell you exactly how your group can help. That's helpyourcommunity.org, because you get more when we get together. Brought to you by the Office of National Drug Control Policy and the Ad Council.
Serving the community through faith and athletics. The Open Mic Broadcast Network.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Coles Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network joins me right now. Charles, good morning to you.
Good morning, Carlos. How are you?
I'm doing fine. At least I'm still happy from last Saturday's game at the FG Clark Activity Center. Women and the men's side. I'm just going to be honest. I was smiling from ear to ear, Charles. Great efforts by Southern women and men's basketball team. Your thoughts on those games last Saturday?
Well, you're happy and I'm ticked off. So how about that?
Wait a minute. Charles Edmond is ticked off? I can't believe it.
Charles Edmond is a little ticked off in several different directions. First of all, as you mentioned, we got our head handed to us against Southern University, and then stepping outside of our own comfort zone as supporters of the SWAC, the ugly incident with Texas Southern and Alabama State the other night, on Monday night, that put a stain on things, whether you're a Bama State supporter, a TSU supporter, a SWAC supporter, HBCU supporter. And then the whole thing with North Carolina A&T leaving the MEAC for the Big South. You know, if you're an HBCU fan, you hate to see that, but you kind of understand the parameters, at least I do. So it's been kind of a topsy-turvy week, but not overall, not one of my better weeks.
Well, I thought on the women side with Alcorn State, I know they like to, they take pride in pressuring their opponents. They extend their defense full court, and they thrive on what, Charles? Turnovers. Turn the team over.
Yep.
I thought Southern did a great job, good job in not falling into that trap. And Southern was in control of the game, I thought, throughout, and they win 74-57. Now, I must admit, though, most of my concern was with the men's game. 11-point victory by the Jaguars. I thought Michael Bradford, he can score. He's a scorer. But Marcus Lee, a scorer, rebounded the basketball very well. In Southern's basketball team. The improvement that they've made has been offensively, scoring. And mind you, up against Grambling State, the last time they played, up by 11, they ended up losing that ball game. This team has been able to finish during this winning streak offensively, finish games. And that has been also the improvement from last year. But they hold on to defeat Alcorn State 93-82. It's not football. It was basketball. Southern was able to get the job done. And now they go on the road like Alcorn with some tough ball games this weekend.
It was, I have to say, we previewed it last week. We thought it would be two slow-moving games, two low-scoring games, and one of them was totally the opposite. I mean, we were 2 for 17 from beyond the arc. That's our game, the three-point shooting, and it wasn't going for us. So that hurt us. Southern's post hurt, and Bradford and Lee just totally got off. I mean, it was they accounted for 2/3 of the scoring. Their bench stepped up. We just didn't have we shot the ball well from a percentage standpoint, but Southern hit some threes, and they really got their low post going. And even though our low post guy, Campbell, had probably one of his better games of the year, he had 6 points, a few rebounds, a dunk. We got him going in the second half.
Is that the 7-footer?
Yeah, the 7-footer. He's from Portland, Oregon.
Oh, they took Charles. They took him out. And then when he got back in, positive action for Alcorn. I thought maybe I'm sitting in the crowd. I thought they should have kept him in longer.
Well, I think Montez wanted to go to a smaller lineup. We've had success with a smaller lineup, but Campbell, he's had his starts and stops, and he can get down on himself sometimes. And I think he picked up a foul after that. After he got going in the second half. Tremaine Crosby got going early. I mean, he put the team on his shoulders in the second half. Campbell got going a little bit, but then he got into foul trouble, and then Southern kind of extended the lead a little bit. And we have success with a smaller lineup. Without our number 2 center, Devon Brewer, is probably going to be out with a dislocated finger probably until maybe the last 2 or 3 games of the regular season, if then, because he's got to get in basketball shape and all that. So we might not have him for the most part the rest of the season. So it's pretty much Campbell, and then we go small. We got a guy number 4, Anthony Fairley, who had, a couple of really good blocks last week against Southern. Offensively, he can do some things. But we've had more success with a smaller lineup. But, you got to give Southern credit. They knocked down shots. Our threes weren't falling. We had some defensive lapses. I mean, these were the 2 top teams defensively. And if you had told me that Southern would score 93 points, I wouldn't have believed it, just based on the way the Braves have been playing defensively and based on the fact that Southern is not known for putting up those type of numbers offensively. So it was kind of a surprise. And then for the Lady Braves, I mean, we're down 21-7 at the end of the first quarter. And if you're looking for this team to make a run, which we can, it starts with our defense. And you talked about Southern's turnovers. They had 24. They had 24 turnovers, so we were able to turn them over, but offensively we just couldn't convert. We missed a lot of easy opportunities, and that's been the story for the Lady Braves all year long, even in wins. We just can't finish shots around the rim. We miss layups. We get point-blank shots that we can't knock down. So offensively, it's still a work in progress. Defensively, we can turn you over, but if you don't convert those into turnovers in the buckets, it's going to be a struggle. And I think that was in the 3 games that the Lady Braves have lost. Texas Southern, A&M, Southern. So that's been the common theme in all 3 of those games.
And I also looked at just the physical attributes of Alcorn's women's team. To me, they've never been like a real, they don't have tall post players on the women's side, but they usually are very speedy, and defensively, they get after you. Kind of like what you're saying. I think going forward for them, eventually they're going to have to score. And their best offense is their defense from what I've seen. And I mean, you've seen more of them, of course, than me. Charles, listen to this. Derek, and he's an Alcorn fan. He said, "Don't get beside yourself. You still got to come back to the reservation." Wow.
Well, that is true.
and I was telling my best friend, say, I'm happy now, but boy, they're going to be waiting in Alcorn. It's a tough place to play.
Yep. I mean, and that's what the second half of the season is about. I mean, you get kicked in the teeth in the first half. Trust me, people don't forget. So the second half of the season starts today. It should be interesting. You know, I on that women's game last week, Carlos, we were just down so much to where we were able to wear. I thought from middle of the third quarter to the end, early fourth, you kind of got the sense that our defense was starting to take its toll on Southern a little bit. But again, we have to convert on the offensive end, and that was kind of the big story. Our defense can create 30 turnovers a night. I mean, that's just how aggressive it can be, and it can really get after you. Where if you can generate 30 turnovers, how many opportunities are you getting? And you know, the Lady Braves have had 60-plus shots, almost 70 shots in certain games this season. But when you don't knock them down, it's going to be tough. And so you're right. Our offense is based on our defense. Our defense created 24 turnovers. So it did its job. But offensively, we struggled. That first quarter killed us, 21-7, a football score. And even though the second half kind of things evened out, kind of defense took over. It's just too big of a hole on the road against a team that's playing pretty well right now in Southern.
Well, we're going to move on after this question to the rest of the conference quickly. Your thoughts on, I thought Alcorn struggled, and this is my first time really seeing the women basketball team with the eyeball test. Your thoughts on Raven White, the freshman center? I thought Alcorn just had a tough time guarding her.
Yep. We have trouble matching up with the bigs. The high-low game has been a struggle for us all year long. And we're going to see that again today with Jackson State. Every team has a big or two. Texas Southern's got two twin towers at 6'3". That's going to be a problem. So the high-low's been a problem for us. Raven White is a big, but she's quick. You know, she's just not going to stand there like a statue and post up. She's very crafty around the bucket, and we have trouble matching up with that type of big. You know, and we have kids like Jameisha Bernard, Bria Bryden, who saw a little action last week. You know, they're more of a traditional post, but when you have a post player that's crafty, nifty around the bucket, it's got good footwork, quick to the rim, quick first step, those are the type of bigs that we struggle with. And I thought Raven White had that, and that was the type of player that we've had trouble with all year.
Yeah. This is with Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network, talking in Southwestern Athletic Conference. Basketball within the conference. So with that being said, the second half of the conference schedule starting today. Of course, Jackson State still on top, 9-0, 10-game winning streak. Texas Southern 8-1, Southern 7-2 on a 5-game winning streak, and Alabama and NIM. That's on the women's side. On the men's side, Prairie View A&M, Texas Southern tied. Alcorn State and Southern 6-3, a game behind them, and then Grambling State on a 2-game winning streak, and Jackson State on a 3-game winning streak. Alcorn and Southern are travel partners. They'll face Jackson State and Grambling. Alcorn will Southern, Grambling State, and Jackson State. I know all road games are crucial. You say you try to split those games and take care of business at home. But this weekend, since it officially kicks off the second half of the conference schedule, is these two games important because they're the next two, or does it have a little bit more special meaning because you start in the second half and you want to get off to a good start in second half of conference play, in your opinion? Did we lose Charles?
I'm sorry, Carlos. That's what I was going to make. Yeah, on the men's side, I think it's even more critical because you have a tie for first, you have a tie for third, and you have a tie for fifth. And right now, so that you think about it, 2 teams tied for first, 2 teams tied for third, 2 teams tied for fifth. That's 6 teams. You're only taking 8 to the tournament. So for Southern and Alcorn, these next 2 games are critical because now tiebreakers come in the second half of the season. Even though Texas Southern and Prairie View are at the top and we're only a game out, whoever wins between, of course, if Alcorn wins, they're going to pick up ground on either Prairie View or Texas Southern today. That's going to be important. Jackson State, they were left on the side of the road, and then all of a sudden they wake up and win 3 in a row. I mean, you give them credit for doing that, and they're only a game behind Alcorn in terms of that. So we lost to them the first go-around, and so now tiebreakers are going to come in, points, and considering how tight it is from 1 to 6, there's going to be a lot of jostling and a lot of positioning for Alcorn as well as Southern. I mean, there's no guarantee that either one of those teams is going to get a first-round home game. But now Alabama State back in the mix. If A&M handles their business at Valley and Pine Bluff, they're back in the mix. Jackson's back in the mix. Gramblin's waiting for Southern. Grambling beat Southern the first go-around. They're back in the mix if they take care of business the next 2 nights. So I think from 1 to 6, with the exception of maybe Texas Southern or Prairie View, I think they're probably in a little bit better shape. But, if one of them goes on a 2-game slump, then someone else is going to move up. So I think on the men's side, I think it's a lot more moving pieces there than maybe on the women's side. And, on that side of it, though, with Texas Southern and the suspensions, how is that going to impact their season in terms of the critical games that they have? Jackson State's undefeated; they're on a roll right now. You got Texas Southern that's right there, but they're going to lose some players obviously based on the incident that happened Monday night. So I think there's some intrigue, unfortunately, on the women's side as well. But I think it's pretty obvious Jackson State's the top dog in the league. They look pretty unstoppable right now. They're just so deep, and they can go any way you want to go. They can go small, they can go big. They got a Mississippi State transfer who is really, really, really good, and it's going to get even better. Jackson State looks pretty good right now, but the Lady Braves are going to have to bounce back, and I think they're in a fight for a home game at least. This was a team picked to finish 9th. They have a chance to finish in the top 4, which will be a tremendous improvement for them. But in Alabama, and then you look at a team like Alabama State on the women's side, a team that typically Frida's team usually they might sniff briefly at the top of the league. They're typically mid-level, but you don't see them being this bad. And it's tough at Bama State for Frida Jackson right now. And an incident like what we had the other night doesn't help her case. Even though she's won championships, she's been around a long time. The program has not really got to that upper crust in the last few years, but an incident like this and the fact that you're losing pretty bad in conference, not only losing, but just getting blown off the court, I don't think that helps her case, even though she has a lot of cachet there. But right now it's tough times for Bama State women's basketball.
Scoring on the women's side last Saturday, Jackson State over Mississippi Valley State 9-61. Prairie View A&M, a 3-point win over Alabama State, 62-59. Of course, Southern over Alcorn State, 74-57. Texas Southern, a 7-point victory over Alabama A&M, 65-58. And Pine Bluff, 5-point victory over Grambling State, 84-79. That's on the women's side. Then Monday, February 3rd, Jackson State over Pine Bluff, 56-44. It was Texas Southern 81, Alabama State 54, and of course, the incident happened after the game. Alabama A&M over Prairie View, 54-44, and Valley, 11-point victory over Grambling State. On the men's side, let me pull that up right quick. It was Southern, of course, over Alcorn State, 93-82. Alabama State over Prairie View, 52-49. Low-scoring affair, but Alabama State tough at home. I think, Charles, you said you could see one of the Texas schools lose in Alabama State, and actually it was It was both to Alabama State. It was Jackson State, a 20-point victory over Valley, 85-65. Texas Southern, a 9-point victory over Alabama A&M, 82-73. And it was Grambling State over Pine Bluff, 49-47. Then Monday, Alabama State blew out Texas Southern, 79-55. Jackson State, 4-point victory over Arkansas Pine Bluff. Prairie View bounces back, 15-point victory over Alabama A&M. And Grambling State over Valley, 90-65. So Grambling on the win streak on the men's side, Jackson State. So with that being said, a interesting schedule coming up today, Charles. But again, Jackson State and Grambling, how ironic. Southern Alcorn play them this weekend, and Grambling State and Jackson State on winning streaks.
It's interesting. It's also ironic to me how the top 4 teams 7 days ago, you clearly saw those teams were on winning streaks. Texas Southern, Prairie View, Southern, Alcorn. Braves lose 1, Southern stays hot. TSU loses 2 at Bama on the Bama swing, which, it's never easy to win over there with those Texas teams, and vice versa. And so the Bama teams will have to go to Texas on the back end of the season. But it's never easy for those Texas teams. I knew it was going to be tough on one of them, if not both. It was tough on Texas Southern. And now the teams, again, that were left for dead, Grambling, Jackson State. I mean, those 2 teams were struggling mightily. After Grambling jumped out to a 3-0 conference start, they were struggling. Bama State was struggling. And now, look, Grambling all of a sudden has found their rhythm a little bit. Bama State found their rhythm a little bit. And if A&M gets on track on this Valley Pine Bluff swing, you can't count A&M out either. So, it's one of those situations, Carlos, where the second half of the season is even more particular because you got more film. You know what happened or didn't happen the first go around. Teams are angry in terms of how they might have been embarrassed at home. So I think the second half of the season, should be really interesting. Not only who's going to make the tournament, because you have to look at the bottom half of the league. I mean, UAPB, Valley. I mean, those teams are on the bottom half of the league, and then the top half. Texas Southern, Prairie View. If the Braves win, I think Southern. So I think this year it's not one dominant team. I think on any given night, someone can be the talk of the league on that night, but then get knocked off the next night. And that's kind of what we're seeing so far through the first 9 games. And that makes it more exciting. It makes it more interesting. When years past, where it was Mike Davis and Texas Southern and everybody else, this past season it was Prairie View. But now you got 4 teams that are right there within a game of first place. And you've got, 6 teams within a couple of games, 2.5 games of first place. So it'll be, I'm anxious to see how the second half goes.
It'll be an exciting second half, and all I can tell you is continue to win. One game loss at the wrong time could knock you down a couple of spots. A 2-game losing streak could be deadly. Charles, have a great weekend. We'll talk with you next Saturday. It's the more exciting basketball conversation to talk about.
All right, Carlos. Appreciate it.
All righty. That was Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network. Take a quick time out. When I come back, we'll visit with Brandon B.J. Jones. In his take on the North Carolina A&T situation, I will say this. Gotten some comments from several people. Derek being one. He said, "Speak it, Mike Prince, speak it." Got my uncles listening with me in Mississippi for the JSU game today. Appreciate it. D. Also, Michael Cavalier says, "Hey, franchise, what are your thoughts on Southern Grambling Alcorn leaving the SWAC and joining as a trio a better conference because the SWAC is digressing instead of progressing? Also, the SWAC TV package is a joke, just pathetic." Michael, I don't think that'll happen. with Dr. McClellan now as the commissioner, give him a chance. Give him a chance. And just my personal opinion, Dr. McClellan coming up through the conference, being a AD at an institution school in the conference, Texas Southern. When I first met him at Prairie View A&M, and a Jackson, Mississippi native, I think he'll be all right as commissioner. I really do. But I don't see Southern Grambling and Alcorn leaving together as a trio. But then, 20 years from now, 15 years from now, who knows what'll happen. But just my honest opinion on that. And the TV package is a joke, just pathetic. It needs to be improved. Let's see if it does. Let's see if it does. Brandon B.J. Jones up next. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com.
Have sports, will travel. The Open Mic Broadcast Network serving student athletes from Little League, high school, and collegiate coverage right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network. From coast to coast, from dusk till dawn. You can catch all student athletic action right here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network, the station designed with you in mind. Serving the community through faith and athletics, the Open Mic Broadcast Network, the voice of student athletics.
One voice. It can get the point across, but it only carries so far. Add a voice. It's richer, louder, but that has limits too. Add a third voice. It's even more powerful. Add another, and another, and many, many more. And we are stronger than ever. That's the power of a community coalition. They help community groups, faith groups, civic organizations, PTAs, employers, and many others in your community organize their resources and focus them where they're needed most, like fighting to keep kids away from drugs. Ask a group that you belong to if they should belong to a community coalition. It's easy to get involved. Visit helpyourcommunity.org and they'll tell you exactly how your group can help. That's helpyourcommunity.org, because you get more when we get together. Brought to you by the Office of National Drug Control Policy and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to this final segment of this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Last guest of today's show. It's been a few weeks. I used to have Brandon B.J. Jones on football season every Saturday. I welcome him back again. B.J., Brandon, good morning to you, sir. Or good afternoon, shall I say.
Man, good morning, Carlos, man. Good to be back with you after a few week hiatus.
Well, I understand, and I'm glad to have you back, because we still can do some football things. Spring practice will be coming up, recruiting, and I guess the next couple of weeks we to get into some recruiting, and we'll try to do some today a little bit. But of course, you know, the other reason you're here, the big news, North Carolina A&T leaves the MEAC, but for the Big South. And as I said in the first part of the show, a lot of comments from A to Z on this whole situation. So, BJ, kind of your thoughts on this situation with North Carolina A&T leaving the MEAC for the Big South Conference.
My personal opinion, I'm kind of on the let's wait and see what happens. This is what I believe. North Carolina A&T does not need the Big South. The Big South needs North Carolina A&T.
Mm-hmm.
North Carolina A&T, they don't need them. I got a insider at North Carolina A&T who had been telling me that this move could possibly happen, and he told me this is Celebration Bowl weekend.
Okay.
And I understand people talk about where's the MEAC going. I understand that, and the MEAC is not without fault, but I don't think that this is a move that you can make as an institution and not inquire the opinions of your alumni, especially those that write checks, and as well as your student athletes. If you're going to make a move that you feel like is what's best for you and your institution, then you need to at least inquire, about that. And this move in the Greensboro, North Carolina, in Atlanta, Georgia, in Charlotte, North Carolina, and places where there is a significant number of North Carolina A&T alumnus and alumni, this move has not gone over well at all. And I've talked to some people over the last couple of days that are talking about withholding checks and doing some of everything else to show their disgust with this move.
Yeah, interesting. Hitting the pockets and pocketbooks has always had an effect from an economic standpoint. That is very interesting. So it seems that, from what you're saying, not happy alum supporters. They did not know this was coming.
Yeah, there wasn't a meeting or anything happening. They found out via social media like everyone else. And I think when you're making a decision such as that one, you have to put some people in the know outside of your board, your president, your athletic director, because it seems like that was a move that they wanted and not a move that the masses wanted. So now what you have done is you have segmented North Carolina A&T between, us and them, and that's what you don't want to do.
Businessman Brandon B.J. Jones, getting his perspective on North Carolina A&T, leaving the MEAC for the Big South. Now, I've also heard that the MEAC conference, did they have a part in the decision for North Carolina A&T leaving? That's kind of what I have been hearing as well. Can you verify that, or can you dismiss that?
Yeah, I can verify that. For about 4 years, North Carolina A&T and a few other schools have asked the offices as the MEAC, hey, and this is when it looks like Savannah State wasn't quite going to make it, and trouble had just hit at South Carolina State. So we're talking about circa 2015, circa 2016. Hey, Savannah State, and Savannah State kind of made their intentions known. Hey, if we're not able to do X, Y, and Z, we're going to go back to Division II level. So they let the conference and as well as the other schools know that their intentions. But at that same time, while that was happening, simultaneously you had the situation at South Carolina State dealing with some accreditation, some potential accreditation issues, and some things that were going on in the administration standpoint that had nothing to do with athletics, but could affect athletics because we're talking about the loss of accreditation, possible school closures, and what have you. And at that point, members of the MEAC said, hey, we need a long-term plan for the conference. What is this conference going to look like? That was circa 2015, circa 2016. Then you had the move by Hampton, and that's when people started coming in because at that point, Hampton made their decision. Then you had Savannah State, who had already made their announcement, and then you still had South Carolina State potentially, same scenario. Hey, we need an answer. People are leaving. We need an answer. Then insert Bethune-Cookman 2018 in their situation. And it was like, hey, we need an answer. We are losing schools. We need an answer. And to this point, schools have yet to get an answer. What is the long-term plan for the MEAC? Do you expand? Do you try to attract someone else? Are there D2 HBCUs that we need to be looking at? Or is there someone that we can poach from the SWAC or the non-HBC? And there hadn't been none. And North Carolina A&T's administration was not the only administration frustrated by this. But I will always also say this. As frustrated as they can claim that they've gotten, Dennis Thomas just got an extension not too long ago. So you can't have it both ways. It kind of reminds me of us in SWAC country. We complained about Dewar Sharp, but we kept giving them extensions. we kept giving them extensions. So, there was some frustration with the MEAC offices. So I understand them from that standpoint.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sure the CEOs, presidents, chancellors of the MEAC, they make the call. Fans don't make that decision. The supporters. And same thing with the Southwest Athletic Conference. Although now you have a new commissioner, they meaning president and the chancellor, the CEOs, they run it. The commissioner is there to do what he can. Mm-hmm. He's a spokesperson, but wow, that's interesting. Then there's another part of this. Get your thoughts on. I was on social media this morning, and John Grant, he was answering another one of the colleagues as far as, and I'll paraphrase it, one of the colleagues wanted to know that North Carolina A&T, do they know something that no one else knows about Celebration Bowl? So John Grant follows an answer. It's like, extension will happen on the contract, and the Celebration Bowl will still be there. And basically, he said, if you win your conference, you'll be at the Celebration Bowl. So, comments about the Celebration Bowl, will it continue to be there? They're going to sign an extension, with the contract.
I definitely hope so. I definitely hope so, and I think that's what a lot of people are waiting on to see if and when that happens. I think once that happens, I think that will kind of put a lot of people at ease, because a lot of people started to wonder with North Carolina A&T leaving, what does that do to the Celebration Bowl? But I think once you get something in writing saying that this has been extended, I think that you'll get kind of people's anxieties kind of put at ease. But I will still be interested kind of on where the MEAC goes, and you start hearing just things on social media, about Virginia State, and about some other institutions that the MEAC might try to court over. So I think that this will be a very interesting six month period. And the reason why I say 6 months is that you have Bethune-Cookman and South Carolina State. Both of those institutions will be reevaluated by SACs in the next couple of months. Bethune-Cookman needs to raise, I think it's $8 million over the next couple of months, or the unthinkable will happen there. I think what happens in the next, and that 6 month period will tell us the future of the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference.
So, when people say it could be a trickle-down effect, black college sports, they'll be watching. Mm-hmm. We could go on, but time will not permit that. National Signing Day, at least the February edition, has come and gone. I've kind of looked. I know you're getting your information together. I I'll tell you quickly what I think in the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and one team perhaps they're in the top 5, and we can evaluate this 2 or 3 years from now. We just kind of going on paper, but get your thoughts on it. Alcorn State. They did very well.
They did an amazing. Alcorn did an amazing job. You look at
Brandon. I can't say amazing just because I'll get that smoke, but yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Hey, I'm going to be objective. I can say that they did an amazing job. They pulled a young man from the city of Montgomery, a quarterback, 6'3", 200-pounder from Carver, Montgomery, who I had no idea that there was even an FCS team on his radar. I thought that for sure that he was going to end up at maybe a Troy or a South Alabama or maybe a Memphis, and Alcorn pulled him from Montgomery, Alabama, Carver High School, which is maybe 6 miles from the campus of Alabama State, which that was amazing. And then you look at the running back that they were able to pull from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Central High School, a traditional power in the state, young man that had visits to Alabama, had opportunities to go to the FBS level, few Power 5 opportunities, and he decided to go to Alcorn State. And you look at the junior college All-American running back that they were able to pull from the state of Mississippi. Alcorn did an amazing job recruiting. I think that Alcorn really, really stepped up. I think that those Celebration Bowl losses has motivated that staff. But I will always tell Jaguar Nation this. A lot of people were kind of confused as to why the class was so small. Well, Southern was young and returned a lot. But when you look at the players that Southern signed, I don't think that Southern signed one player that can't make an impact. So it wasn't a huge class in Baton Rouge. But when you look at the kids that they brought in, they can go. Even a young man from Catholic who reminds me a lot of Willie Quinn. He's explosive. He's a big play waiting to happen. Southern brought in the kids that's ready to go. And that was impressive. I also look at the job that Grambling did. Huge class. They signed 26. Alabama A&M went heavy on the offensive line. They had to. Alabama State did an outstanding job. I think around the SWAC, you had some outstanding classes, but Alcorn maybe had the best day of anyone.
Well, you can go on the Carlos Brown show, Facebook page, Carlos Brown. Time is going to catch up with us as far as recruiting, but there's always next week. Always next week. I knew it was a lot to talk about and cover. BJ, some additional signings that you don't see listed on the official list. Michael Rambo, wow, Wicker. His mother's on the city council in Baton Rouge. He's back from Southern Lab. Preferred walk-on, 6'2", 180. Jeremiah Stafford, 6'4", 320. Transfer from South Florida, already in school, Reddick, Florida. Travion Newsom. Oh, just go look him up. This kid's an athlete, 6'1", 290, Eisenhower High School, Houston, Texas. And the young man, Braylon Morgan, running back, split back from Catholic High. It was just amazing. Catholic High School in Baton Rouge coach was saying, this kid's uncommitted. Please, y'all, take a look at him. He's going to play football and track, compete in track and field at Southern University. And then Curry Ben has transferred in from Southern Miss, from New Orleans. Cornerback, he's in. So, and then BJ, Coach Chennis Berry, you have to congratulate him. He's the new head football coach at Benedict College. So Coach Odom has to do some hiring, brother, on the offensive side. Unbelievable. But
hey, if you're Southern, yeah, if you're a Southern fan, hey, you complained about that offensive side of the football. I guess you got your wish. You want to see what happens and what Coach Odom brings in.
Yeah, I'll say this, BJ. You may disagree with this, but Barry, a hell of an offensive line coach. I'll leave it at that. Offensive coordinator. Southern football.
He can get your blood pressure up as offensive coordinator.
Yeah, and some other things. But at the end of the day, they're going to be judged on what? Wins and losses. Yep. And you got to kick that door open when you get the opportunity. You got to do it. You got to do it. Southern football will take the field April 1st, 2020, spring practice. Close out April 25th with the spring football game. BJ, can we follow this up next Saturday?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
All right. I appreciate it. And maybe I won't talk so much so I can get the guests in and out on schedule and give them the proper time. You know, I just get so emotional. But appreciate the time, BJ. And have a great weekend. We'll see you next Saturday.
You do the same.
All right. Thank you, sir. Brandon B.J. Jones, I want to thank him for joining me, Coach Van Pettaway, Charles Edmond, and Dr. Michael Prince. Oh, there we go. The volume went down a little bit. Everyone who listen in, I appreciate you. Send text messages, I appreciate you as well. Make sure you tune in next Saturday at 10 a.m. for another edition of the Carlos Brown Show. As always, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And remember, as always, until next time, peace and God bless.